Okay, just to clarify from yesterday, there was the Gemara. We're going to start from Chavavim and Beis. Um, here. Yeah. So the Gemara, the Mishnah, we're trying to figure out what in the Mishnah what says that you can't be mekano, you can't warn a woman not to hang out with a guy. Right? This is right. That's a sugi of Saita. So it says you can't be mekano her against someone who's not a man. What's not a man? So we had a few the few half minutes over there, and we're trying to figure maybe maybe you can't be mekano her against the guy. Why? So the Gemara said it can't be. Is mekan, you could be mekana that she can't hang with the guy, and if he's boil her, if he's boil Eishes Kain, she's possible from tuma or bas Kain really. It's just from both. It's possible from tuma. Mekana yadip pshita. What do you mean? Of course you can't. Of course you can't. Of course you can be mekana her against. It's a regular bia. Why should it be different? Ma'odetema nitma shtei amim. It's really the nitma. But we have the next paragraph we're going to start today. Is going to dash a nitma that she's also to the boil, the guy that she has an affair with, just like she also to her husband. Someone, a married woman has an affair, she also to her husband, and after her husband divorces or if he dies, she's also to the guy that she was with while she was with her husband. Mm-hmm. So echad the bal, echad the boil. Heicha de kamitasra b'haznus. That's when he asks her. When he becomes also with this nus, in other words, but that knows this is nus during while she's married is going to ask her to the boil. But maybe the guy is always asked to her. So maybe he's not included in this whole parsha of Kina. That he is. Of course, why shouldn't we pass with truma? When it has to be that she's with someone that there's kedushin, because lashon kisiya is a lashon of kedushin. Could have just said that she was with the guy, but the Torah uses lashon kedushin to maybe that's what's come to my mind. Davar havayin in the bar havayin in the lav bar havayaloi. Kamashlan the pasal. There's kamashlan that even a guy that doesn't have kedushin erisin, at least by us, in other words, within themselves they have some sort of kedushin, not mamish, but they have like chazaka. Halacha. It's interesting that a guy is married to a gaya even before he marries her. If a boyfriend moves in with his girlfriend, a guy, the halacha for our halacha is they're married. It has a ramification. It's not male because we're not in control of things. But if they were to be mezana and when Bezdin was around, they'd get killed. Like that level.
Doesn't have to be officiated.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Even if there's no shtar kedusha, nothing. If you move in with her and you live like a husband and wife and you're exclusive and this is you have a home together, you bought a dog together, like that's your husband and wife. That's it. But they're not commercial the puzzle. Commercial the puzzle. In other words, I would think that you're not possible because you don't have this Indian of kedushin. But Rabbi Yochanan teaches you that you are. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Minayin Lo Avikacham VeEved Shebaal Kehenes Baal Halavia Baal Bas Yisrael Shepaslu. How do we know that a guy or an Eved is passes one Bas Yisrael Shenema or Bas Koyin Kisiya Almana Ugrusha? This pasuk is talking about this. What I didn't understand yesterday. This pasuk is talking about that after she goes back to her, let's do the first pasuk inside. Ubas kain pasuk vav on the side, if you see. Ubas kain kisiya almana ugrusha v'zera einla v'shav el beisavia kenurea milachem avia toichel v'chol zar le'yechelba. She can go back. Ubas kain can go back, even if she's married to Yisrael. If she doesn't have children with him, and he dies, or even if she gets divorced. She can go back, as long as she doesn't have kids with the Yisrael, she can go back to her father's house and continue to eat Truma. You know, she's not a Basul anymore, as long as she wasn't Nivel Be'isser, right? So it's Mishi Yeshle Amaris V'Gershon, but Yatsu Ayvi Kacham V'Evet She'en Lai Amaris V'Gershon. But what would I think? That even if I have a kid with a guy, it wouldn't passel. That's what I have. In other words, which is a little bit of interesting having in it because a guy's bia is passel. But that's what I was saying. Only if he doesn't have. Okay, only somebody that I have kedushin with, and I don't have a kid with. I have to not have a kid with them, but I think it's kedushin. I think it's even. Yeah, that's the havamina. Even if she has a kid with a guy, she would be allowed to eat truma. Which again, I don't really understand the havamina because a guy's bia passes there. I think. But maybe not for truma. I was mushroom. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's for both. But from here, maybe the Havana sees that not. I thought it was for both. But either way, that's the Havana. That having a kid with a guy, I'm not saying it's not a problem, but it wouldn't pass for kahuna, because which kids are going to pass for kahuna? Only a guy that he has almost and gerushin with, but Stam, she was with a guy that kid wouldn't pass on. So now we have a problem because we said the guy is not mamay because we just figured out why, right? So what's this ish mute amra papa mute behema? You can't say don't be with this cow. I don't like the way you're schmoozing with the cow. You're getting too friendly. Don't be with that cow. The aim is znus behema. There's no znus behema. Now there's the isser revia. Harva. A woman's not allowed to be intimate with an animal. You cannot do the physical act with animal. It's not considered znus. It doesn't make her usher on her husband. She's chayiv misa. There's a lot of other problems, but it's not considered znus. It's not the mice of intimacy that you have with another person. It's a completely separate mice. Amalei Rav Miparzika Rav Ashi Mina Ha Milsa the Amra Bana Ein Znus B'Mei. How do we know the chsiv? How do we know this Indian that there's no Znus B'Mei? And the chsiv Leisavi Eslin Zayna U'Mecher Kelev. Do not bring to the mizbeach a payment. In other words, a Zayna who wants to bring a carbon cannot use a carbon that she was paid for her services. And if you swapped a dog, if you bought a dog with a seh, you can't use that seh either. So if you own a dog and you trade your dog for a seh, you cannot use that seh for a carbon. And if someone's a zayna, they cannot use payment that they got for a mizbeach. V'tanya eslen kalav umechir zayna mutarin. But if you paid someone to have relations with their dog, that person, the dog owner, cannot take that money and go to the mizbeach and buy a carbon with it. And if you bought if a zayna sold herself as an amma, not for what's it called, sexual purposes. No, it's not in her profession. She's had a side gig. She sold herself as a cleaning lady. She happened to also be a zayna, but she's allowed to use that money. The pasuk ends off that these two things are disgusting to me.
Zayna means any money that is zayna gets.
Yeah, it doesn't have right. And well, no, mechir zayna is mutter. In other words, mechir zayna except for things that technically it says that Rashi says you're selling the zayna. Mechir zayna haisalei shifcha zayna v'chlifa betlat. He had a shifcha that was a zayna, and he sold her for a sheep. So now he sold the zayna for a sheep. So that's what it means. My example is not what Rashi said. I don't know if halacha my example is wrong, but Rashi said something slightly different. Okay, fine. So that's it. So the pasuk ends that these two things are these things are disgusting to me. So it says Ashneim, and you see not four. So it's those two cases dafka. That's the Josh from the pasuk, and that's how we know that there's no znus by behema. Because if there was znus by behema, then the me paying for znus with the dog should be the same thing as me paying for znus with the zayna. Fine, that's the Gemara. Fine. The el shikha zer lamali. So now what is this? What is this referring to? We had a diak in the pasuk that the husband saying that she can't live with this guy shikha zera, right? The issue is that she's living with him in shikha zera. What is it, right? That usually means that there's a gemar bia. But we said that it's not come to Mamai, it's somebody who's impotent, somebody who can't finish off. So what does it mean? If you say that's not a problem, if you say that that you could even mechanic against somebody who's impotent, so what is shikha zera coming to tell you? It means there has to be dafka shechazah and not something else. What does that mean? My double acher. If you tell her, I'm warning you not to be with this guy, shaloi kedarka, that's not a kina. In fact, there's a drush on the Chaz Mishkei Isha that any type of this is talking about by the Isser of Shechva Zera, and it's referring to Mishkei Isha, like there's multiple ways of being with a woman. So someone said, right, the pasuk by Mishkei Zach, by homosexual activity, it says that if you live with a man, Mishkei Isha, now it's not Mishkav Isha. Mishkav Isha is one way of living with a woman, but Mishkei Isha is two ways of living with a woman. So there's Gemara Smidaik all over the place that every type of way to be with a woman it's considered bia, and the gabi kinyanim, the gabi isurim. You can't say someone's with a married woman, but shalai and it's the same exact thing halacha. So it can't be that that's what is coming to your mind, that you can't be kind of mishkei because shalai kedaka, because shalai kedaka would answer her also, so it doesn't make any sense. any other act, it's not either regular bia or shloike darka, or anything else that they do together. It's considered derech evarim. And if you say you can't do that, then that's not considered kina, because if she did that, it wouldn't make her asa on her husband. What's the havim in it that would be a problem? Again, we're not talking, it's not a mitzvah, but it wouldn't make her asa on her husband. So why would you be allowed to asa her? Why would you be allowed to do a kina on that? And for the Gemara, that you cannot do neshika, which is neshika's aver le'aisamakam, right? Just a touch in that area.
You're not allowed to warn her on that?
That if you did warn her that you can't do neshika, that wouldn't be a good warning. In other words, it wouldn't be a good warning that if she was hid with the guy, then you could make her drink. So aval neshika v'loy kulmu. Very nice, because there's a machlekes what ha'ara is. If ha'ara is that the tip of the man goes into the woman, and neshika, which means that it's mamish just touches but doesn't go in, it's mamish nothing. So that makes sense why you can't warn her against a shika, because the content of it's nothing. Hainu that's why the pasuk comes and tells you that neshika doesn't help. That can't be mekana against neshika. But a quantum that says even neshika is hara, and then what? Hara is a full beer, lagabe kinyan, lagabe isser, lagabe everything. Then what are you going to say? Why is it not? Why is it not good? And then we had a problem already with derech haram. The Torah says we want the Torah made it says the man, he's warning his wife, so it's up to him. Whatever he doesn't want his wife to do, that's what he can warn her. That's what I would think. So he doesn't want her to act in this way, even without regular with tashmish, regular act. And the Baal's makbar about this. Now, obviously, every husband's makbar about this, but I guess it's makbar enough that he made us think about it. That no, even if he's going to say you can't be with this guy in this very specific way, then it's not a good kina. And if she hides with him, she's not asa. She's not asa and doesn't have to make a drink. The whole spiel. This is okay. This is all new Gemara. Yisa Adam Duma. You should marry a woman that they talk about that she cheated on her husband, but not with her daughter. Why? Because the woman that potentially had an affair, she's a kosher kid. Her mother was okay, so she's for sure. She's Api Pasha's a kosher woman. The Zuba Metipa Pasula, but her daughter might be mamzeres. So if you have to marry one of these women, you're better off marrying a woman that they talk about rather than her own daughter. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, no. Yisa Adam Bas Duma v'al Yisa Duma. Why? Shezu Medes b'cheskas kasheres, v'zu ena medes b'cheskas kasheres. The daughter, we have a chazaka that even if a woman had an affair, roiv bias eitz labal, then most of the time the chazaka is that her kids are not mamzer. Unless you know for a fact the husband was out of town for 6 months and he comes back and there's a kid, it's not his kid. But if you don't know, and even if you know that there was an affair, the kid is becheskas kasher, but this woman she for sure did a mice. She broke her chazaka of kashrus. So don't marry a woman who's going to do the same thing to you and run circles around you. You're not going to even know, and every time you're with her, it's aser. Don't get yourself to this balagan. Her daughter is kasher. Her daughter is a kasher girl. She didn't do anything wrong. Because we're going to ask a kasha on this. Rabbi Yochanan, noise adam duma. It says nice adam duma. We have a brayse that says nice adam duma. A person should marry a duma, not like Rabbi Yochanan said. Amarava v'tizbura nice lechatchila. You tell me the brayse says I should go marry a girl. No. So what does that mean? Ela im nasa. So if you're marry another. So tani nami bas duma. So once you're already fixing up the mission, the brayse, so you messed up you left out the im, you left out the bas. The whole thing is lav dafka. That's the point. The hilchas that we're passing now. And this, you see, the Arab, that's the Rambam passing on that. Yisa Adam Bas Duma va'al Yisa Duma. You should marry a woman. It's better to marry a woman whose mother was spoken about rather than the woman herself. Again, because you have a chazaka that the girl is from the father and it's a kosher child, and the woman is clearly broke her chazaka of being a kasher. The Tanya of Rav Tachlifa Bar Marava Kamed Ravavo. Isha mizana b'nei kasherin. Why? Because Roy Bilas achar bal. Boy, fine. Boy Rav Amram ha'isa perutza b'yoyse mahu. if she was she was acting very inappropriately, and there's a lot of chashas that she was with a few different people, or that she had she's a repeat offender. What's the halacha? Are her kids still a becheskes kashas? You just said what be about. Fine, that's very nice. If you see she went out 1, 2 nights, whatever, she got cool ones. What if she's a repeat? Everyone knows she's all over the place. So then what do you say? There's a machlekes when a woman gets pregnant. If you according to that a woman gets pregnant next to her when her period starts, like right before, then he's not going to know when her cycle is. He's not going to be able to watch her extra. Not that he doesn't want to raise other people's kids. Obviously, he's chayshish his wife or something. That this is even in the conversation, but he's not going to watch her. He's not going to know when to watch her. And therefore, of course, I'm going to be extra chayshish that the kids are mamzerim. My shaila is according to my that says that she only gets pregnant right after her tefillah. Now we have a question. Do we say because he knows when she comes home from the mikvah, and now the next couple of days he's going to make sure that she doesn't go with anyone else? Maybe because she's mamish all over the place, we don't know. He's not going to be able to watch her, and she's going to run circles around. Teku, the Gemara does not paskin, but if you see the Gimel, Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam l'chayr do paskin. I did not look it up inside, but Ayin Sham. Be'elu shebezdin, and these are the ones that bezdin's mekana, right? This is the ones in the husbands in certain situations the bezdin can act on his behalf. Tanabana ish. It could have just said ish. What's the rewrite of ish? L'rab is ishes cheresh ve'ishes shaita ve'ishes shamum. Another type of shaita v'shahalach balu in the ensayam v'shayach chalash be'sasum. Husband who's basically not around and not capable of watching his wife. Shebezim mekana la lepasim meksubasan. Yachol af lahashchaisa. I would think that he warns the bezin warns her, and if she doesn't listen or she loses her ksuba. Maybe even to make her drink. The husband has to drink, so the bezin can take her to drink. But what does he do with this pasuk? How does he learn? The husband will take her to drink, but it's based off the kina from the bezin. But he's masking that the husband has to take her to drink. Michael, what's the machlekes between the chachamim and Rabbi Yossi? And how does this work? So, the same person who's mekana has to bring her. It doesn't have to be the same person. I have a kina, I have a hevi, but Rabbi Yossi is masking. Rabbi Yossi is masking that the behavi has to be the ish because it says behavi ish. So the man has to bring. There's no one says that the bezin can shlep her to make her drink. The husband has to come in and make her drink.
So there's no.
The question is only if the vakina behavi is a smichus.
Same person.
If I need both from the same guy. So the Rabbanan say it says vakina behavi. The guy who does the kina has to do the heavy.
So it has to be the husband that warned her.
The husband that warned her. So again, if the husband comes out of jail, he can warn her again. That's not the problem. The problem is she doesn't get warned again. He comes out of bezin. He comes out of jail, and he drives by and he sees them walking out of a house. So now what do you do? I wasn't mekana her. Bezin was mekana her, but I saw the stira. So because the husband saw the stira, now he can make her drink. Because according to Gesef, because he does not hold that it has to be the kin of the heavy. It doesn't have to be the same guy. It doesn't have to be the same. Yeah. Isha tachas isha lahakish is ish isha. So we had this brought down earlier that it's to be makish. There are certain if the husband and wife have certain deficiencies, this whole sugya doesn't start. And some of them are said by the isha, some of them are said by the isha. And they both apply to both. So we're going to see in a second. For what? Just like if he is blind, she doesn't drink. How do we know that if he's blind, she doesn't drink? Then she's hidden from her husband's eyes, which means that he could have seen her had she not hidden. But if he's blind, he couldn't see her anyway. So there's no nelam. And from this hekish of isha takas isha of tishta,
he's able to see and she's blind.
Right. If either one of them is blind, again it says blindness by the husband, but we say from this pasuk of asha tishta isha takas isha that they whatever limits one of them, the other one also has. But Rashi says that they're not arguing; they're just coming from different sides of the coin. So Rav Sheshes just said something that passes in the husband that also passes in the wife, and Rashi is going to go the other way. Rashi Amar Kashem Shachigeres v'Gidemes Lohaisa Shaisa Dechsev. Chigeres is a lame, so she's missing a leg or she has. I think she's missing a leg. V'Gidemes, she's missing her arms. Lohaisa Shaisa, she doesn't drink the sieve. The Hamed Hakayin as the Isha Lefnei Hashem and Nasan as Al Kapah Kahu Im Hayachiger. So it says that she has to stand. The Kayin has to stand next to the Isha. The Hamed Hakayin as the Isha. The Kayin stands a woman next to in front of Hashem, in front of Mizbeach. The Nasan as Kapah, and he puts the basket on her hands. So obviously she has to have legs to stand and hands to hold the basket. So Kahu, and even though the husband doesn't have to do anything, no, the husband, right? Again, from the same thing as we said before. Just like if a woman is a mute, she doesn't drink wine. The woman has to answer to the klolis and the shuas and the klolis that the kohen tells her. She has to answer amen, amen. So he
this isn't adding anything, no? It's the same thing as here.
Why? The Elaim is not the same thing as
anything that the Ish is similar to the Ish.
Right, but we're showing three different
things. It's not really adding.
It's not like this. What do you mean adding?
When he said anything that's by the man.
Right, so we're saying three different examples. Three different psulim, not psulim, but three different types of men that are not going to drink. That make three different types of psulim that are not psulim, but I guess movement deficiencies, defects. Three different defects that if one of them has, the other one doesn't drink. Also, even though it doesn't really make sense because the husband doesn't have to say anything really, right? So the wife can't. The wife's Elaine makes sense because she can't say amen amen. But why can the husband? That's exaggeration. That's the hackers there. So I think it's hackers. How did Allah arusa? Okay, we're going to do that's a very long Mishnah. We'll get to the bottom of the and we'll call it a night. Just like the waters check her, the waters check him. The Gemara is going to discuss who's him. There's two times that it discusses the water going into her body. So it's so therefore we learn that there's two people that it goes into, even though she's the only one that's drinking, but since she's the only one drinking, but it also checks him, the other person. And spoiler alert, it's talking about the guy that she was with, not the husband. In the same way she's usher to the Baal from this whole process. In other words, even if there's no beer, we don't know what happened, but she warns her and then she hid. From that moment that she hid with the guy, she's usher to her husband. And that's why we're doing this whole drinking process to get them back together. So too, from that moment, she's usher to the Baal, which means if the husband drops dead and he dies while she's a suffix, she's usher b'suffix, she cannot marry that guy that we're talking about over here.
Even after she drinks.
After she drinks, but if her husband dies before she drinks, maybe I didn't say that. Yeah. If her husband dies before she drinks, so she never got clarity. We never got clarity. We don't know what happened. Asur the Baal, kach asur the Baal. She never nitma v'nitma. Dit Rabbi Kiva. It says it could have said nitma, but it says v'nitma. That's a diak. That's a raya that adds to come to be meisif the bayal. Rabbi Yeshua kachay dash Zechariah ben Akatzip. Rabbi Omer shneipa amam parsha nitma v'nitma. Not from the extra vav, but from the extra word v'nitma. Echad the bav, echad the bayal. Okay, two different ways of learning the psul of to asa the bayal. By boy bayon on that day. Now, interesting. Boy bayon throughout Shas is known. Rashi brings that here, and Rashi says that l'chayra the first member is also by bayon, even though the Mishnah doesn't say that. But the first member that we just learned is also by bayon. By bayon is the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Gamliel got kicked out of his nasias. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah he became the nasi. And his policy in the Spanish was anyone can come in. You don't have to wear a white shirt. You don't have to wear a bend down hat. You come as you are. Rabbi Gamliel was very careful who led this bench. You have to be like, you have to look right and act right. He was very medactic. So the bench got flooded the first day, and the lashon of the Gemara is that there was no halachas that were left hanging. Like everything got banged out. They just went through, and there's a bunch of halachas that says bye b'yayim, and this is Mishnah's full of them. But Tzrat Shasa. This has nothing to do with site anymore. This is Boy Bayan. Kli cheres asher yipol mehem al toichai kol asher b'soichai yitma. So that's a pasuk. Kli cheres vav. V'chol kli cheres asher yipol mehem al toichai kol asher b'soichai yitma v'aisai tishbar. The only way you cannot toivel, you cannot kasher a kli cheres, you have to break it. So what happens is this: a rat, a dead mouse, or a dead frog goes into or toad actually. One of the shratzim goes into the ear space of the kli cheres. It's tamei rishon, right? A dead sheretz is the av. The kli becomes a rishon, and the kikar inside of it becomes a sheni. Now, right? The kikar, the roll. If you have a bagel inside the oven, let's say, it's the classic example Rashi says is the oven's kli cheres, and you put a dead sheretz goes into the oven becomes a rishon l'toma. The kikar, the roll becomes a sheni l'toma, and we're going to see what happens right there. It doesn't say it doesn't say it's tamei, ela yitma, which means the tamei acherim, to say that the sheni that's in the oven can now go and make something else a shlishi. Because it doesn't say it's just tamei, it says yitma. It has the power to make tamei. Made our kikar sheni shemetame as a shlishi, to show me that a kikar sheni, this roll that was in the oven, that got touched by the sheretz. Not that the bagel got touched, but the oven got tummy from the sheretz. So the oven's a rishon, the bagel's a sheni. It can be mitam a shlishi. Amar Rav Yeshua, mi yagala ofam yenecha Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. At this point, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was not alive anymore. Shahisa Aimer used to say asad dar acher l'tar kikar shlishi. Obviously, it was always asar, but he was nervous. Rabbi Yochanan was nervous. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was nervous that as the read the Sederis come, they're going to be matter this third level bagel. No, it's the second bagel.
The second one
can't be. We're going to say that the first bagel can't be mitama a second bagel, where this first bagel is a sheni. Right. The first bagel is a sheni. We're going to say that can't be mitama a shlishi. There's nowhere it says in the pasuk that it's tame. He had Rashi brings down that he had like some kavachaymer, but they're going to make a pirch on it, and they're not going to keep this halach anymore. And he was nervous about it. He was like, he crutched about it, whatever that means. Your own Talmud, Rabbi Kiva, maybe the mikro minatayra. He brings a raya from the pasuk we just had. Asher lo yitma, shehu tamei, shenemar kol asher b'soicha yitma, has the power to become. So he brings the mamash pasuk. He doesn't rely on a kavachaymer that could. One generation likes it, one generation doesn't like it. That's the problem with kavachaymers. Everyone with their pictures, you know. Another halacha. Dash Rabbi Kiva u'madaisa machutz. This is talking about the sites for the cities that the Leviim got. Because they didn't get an actual Yusha. Sheva Levi did not get an actual chelik in Eretz Yisrael, but they got, I think, 48 cities. They were all Eri Miklat. We learned about it in Makis. But besides for that, they also got what's called a migrash. They also got that, like the outskirts of cities was given to them to enjoy and to use. You should leave over the corners of your field, of your cities, 2,000 amas. The next pasuk says, 1,000 amas. You can't say it's only 1,000. Because the Ray says 2,000. You can't say it's 2. It's 1. So what are you talking about? Okay, it's on. 1,000 amas is for the Levium as a midrash. It can't be developed. They just have to be able to use it to. I think it's it just has to be used to give them. They can't develop. What?
Spread it to space.
Maybe that's what it is. But I don't think there's a lot of restrictions what you're allowed to do with it. I don't think you could even put sadis on there. So I don't even think it's for the Levium then. I don't think it makes sense for the Levium because they can't do anything with it. So I'm not sure what to do with it. Rashi says Rechava. Just to beautify the city. So it could be it's only talking about in the cities of the Levium or talking about all cities. We're talking about only the cities of the Levium. Okay, I'm not 100% sure what it's all about. Just holding this because it has to do with the Levium something. That I remember. I just don't know. It's K. That's what it is. It's the midrash of the ear that are given to the Levium. So in the cities that are given to the Levium, the midrash cannot be developed. I think that's what it is. The midrash is not a restriction on regular cities. The pasuk says beferish. It's talking about the Levium. So he says, this is Rabbi Kiva saying that it's Tchum Shabbos. V'alfayim Amot is referring to Tchum Shabbos, nothing to do with the cities, nothing to do with the Midrash, nothing to do with the Levium, nothing. Rabbi Lezer Omer, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yossi, Aglili Amar, Elef Amar, Midrash, V'alfayim Amot, Sotah Daf, the 2,000 you're allowed to develop, but not for housing. It can only be done for vineyards and for
included in that 1,000.
I think that maybe the 1,000 after that. The Alfayim, in other words,
the second 1,000.
The second 1,000, the first 1,000 has to be panoi, it has to be like mamish empty, and the 1,000 after that can't be houses. Maybe it's hold on. Alfayim is going to do the suds from Alfayim sud and knitting the Levium to the The Rashi's Masha, the first 1,000 is for the Midrash, and the second 1,000 is for suds and kramim. So even between the city and the kramim, you have a buffer. So what's the machlekes over here? The machlekes over here actually is very simple, and you see that the Rambam paskins like we know that we hold Tchum Shabbos as the Rabbana. According to Rabbi Kiva, he has arrived from it's a pasuk in the Torah. It's the Raisa. So we see the Rambam paskin. I'm saying we pass that it's the Rabbana, and that's why the letter is by Rabbi Glili, because he holds that it's not referring to the 2,000 is not referring to the Tchum. 2,000 is talking about Sotah Daf. Rashi explains the reason why the Torah is replete with the word lamer. It says every 2 psukim is lamer. That's when it's talking to Kadosh Baruch Hu, talking to Moshe to repeat the Klal Yisrael. But that doesn't really apply there. It's Moshe Rabbeinu talking to the Klal Yisrael to say to who. The word lamer is not appropriate here. He repeated line after line, like we say sometimes. A lot of shuls they have Parshas B'Shalach. They say Azashir much slower, and they say it line by line to mimic that what we did when we crossed the after Shal Pesach. People do it, but that idea to say Azashir Moshe and then the next line, and everyone says like how like again we don't even do how like this, but they used to do how like this, so it's a little bit of a funny mashal for us because we don't do it like that b'chlal. But the Kach Lemar Lema Reb Nechemia Amar Kakaina Shema v'Lo Kakaina Sahal. What do you mean Kakaina Shema? Just like the Chazan starts Shema and then everyone joins in together. And Rashi explained that there was a Ruach HaKodesh because they didn't pass out, they didn't have plastic carts for everybody. Okay, when we get to the end, everybody hold with, everyone came together and said the same shira together as one, as the whole nation together. It was a tremendous amount of nevuah that came down. Ruach HaKodesh, everyone was able to say shira together. Okay, either the dash and lame are different ways. Boy by Yoim Darash Abishua ben Hurkanis loy avad Eiv as a Kadosh Baruch Hu Ela Me'ahava. Eiv, who we know had a tremendous amount of Yisurim, so Rabbi Shua ben Hurkanis is saying that he only served in Me'ahava. Shenamar Hein Yitleni loy Ayachal. Now in the pasuk in Eiv it says I'm going to end up even if I get destroyed. I'm getting destroyed. To him, I will still serve. I will still yearn for it. But the pasuk, if you look in the side Yud, it says loy. The pasuk is written with an aleph, so it's written loy. I will not serve. I will not be mitzapah. But we're still 50-50. Loy ani mitzapah. I'm not going to be yearning for him. Or ani mitzapah. Or I'm not loy ani mitzapah. Or ani mitzapah. Is it loy mit an aleph or loy mit a vav? Talmud Leimer, another pasuk that clarifies his position. Ad egva loy aseh to musi mimeni, until I mamish plats. I'm not going to let go of you. I'm not going to stop serving you. Malami shemiyahava asa. He didn't do it to Mira. He wasn't just from Mira. He did it for Meyahava. Amar Rabbi Shua mi yigal ofem minecha Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai shahayis darish kolimecha shaloi avad iyav asamakam ela Meira. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai used to say that it was only Meira. It was I guess a gnai because the ikra is Meyahava. Shenema ish tam v'yasher yirei alikim v'sar Meira. He brings the raya that Eov did a Meyahava and not only Meira. Okay, that's the Mishnah. We'll start the Gemara tomorrow night.
Right.